Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Please forgive me, I'm a little hoarse and I just am recuperating from a 4-hour event in the dentist chair, in which I endured 5 needles with a dental student. So, still recuperating from that. Alhamdulillah, we're doing well. Disclaimer, I'm born and raised in the South. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, so if you hear a little bit of a Southern drawl, I'm sorry. So let's begin. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Radiyallahu ta'ala anhu wa an kafatul mu'minin. Fasting. Ramadan is coming up. Sha'ban, actually, the Islamic month of Sha'ban actually begins this weekend. And Sha'ban is the month before Ramadan, as most of us know. And it is within the month of Sha'ban that we actually begin, or should begin, to do most of our prep work for Ramadan. And when I say prep work, I mean our mental prep work, our in some cases, dietary prep work, our spiritual prep work as well. So, part of that prep work is understanding the benefit of why we are doing what we're doing in Ramadan. So I thought I'd begin by talking about the spiritual benefits of fasting, or what are the general benefits of Ramadan in general. For the individuals that partake in the fast, and not just the fast, but Ramadan itself, because there are some individuals that cannot fast or will not fast for various reasons. Those individuals still get the barakah, or the blessings, the benefits of the fast. So if a person has, for example, a medical condition and they can't fast, they are not exempted from those blessings. So although we generally talk about the benefits of fasting, understand that there are various forms of fasting for different types of people. And inshallah we hope to go over that. 2, it's a purification for the heart. And the term heart here, when we talk about this in Islam, when we talk about purification of the heart, we're not talking about the physical heart itself. We believe that we are individuals that are composed of a corporeal matter, physical matter, and a spiritual matter. And so just like we have an actual physical heart, we actually have inside of that a matter that is called the spiritual heart, that is also connected to our mind. It's connected to our emotions. It's where anger comes from. It's where love comes from. It's where anxiety comes from. So that spiritual heart is very susceptible, just like the physical heart is very susceptible to the type of food you eat. You can have, heart disease, for example, or you can have a healthy heart depending on your diet, depending on what you physically ingest in terms of food. In Islam, we believe that the type of actions that you do, or in reality, the type of inactions that you do also, what you don't do, not just what you do, but what you don't do, what you refrain from doing, has a direct effect on the spiritual heart. And so, throughout the year, we're exposed to various individuals. We are tested. Sometimes we have good days. Sometimes we have bad days, emotionally, psychologically, right? Behaviorally. When we do something wrong, it has a negative effect on our spiritual heart. And sometimes that negative effect translates into the way we feel emotionally. Sometimes that negative effect translates into the type of energy we have, or the type of energy we don't have when it comes to prayer. So sometimes we may feel more tired, or more sluggish, or more lazy towards performing the prayer. Or if we don't have as much energy towards doing other acts of righteousness, such as reading the Quran, or we don't feel as generous when we give charity sometimes. Those feelings, those down feelings we have, are direct effects of some type of ailment in our spiritual life. And so Ramadan changes all of our habits, and fasting is a direct injection, so to speak, to our spiritual heart that rectifies that situation and that gives us energy and boosts us spiritually. This is why, as Muslims, during Ramadan, we get up after fasting, we pray 20 rakats after every night. We don't do that during the year. Why can't we? We don't feel like it. Because of the things that we're doing, we're not doing certain things. So it purifies the spiritual heart. Purifying meaning it cleanses that aspect of the heart. Okay, without going too deep, because we could do an entire week workshop on purification of the heart. So, and that's actually a discipline where you have to be trained in it. It's a sign of membership into the greater historical Abrahamic faith community. So in the Quran, there's the verse that fasting is prescribed for you just as it was prescribed on those individuals or those communities before you. Right? So there's this connection that we have to other faith communities historically that are directly connected to Prophet Ibrahim or Prophet Abraham alayhi salam. So part of this ritual is a reminder to us of our greater family. It's part of that ritual. It reminds us, or reminds an individual of the things that we take for granted. Ramadan takes us out of our box, the proverbial box. When you do things every day, time after time, day after day, the repetition that emerges from our practices when we do something daily has an interesting effect. It causes us to forget certain things and devalue certain things. Because one of the effects of repetition is that we tend to expect the same result. Right? So, for example, we all have a habit of going to bed at a certain time, waking up in the morning, and we have our routine. When we go to sleep at night, for most people, it never occurs to us that we might not ever wake up. Or for most people, when we go to sleep, it doesn't occur to us that we might wake up, but maybe our eyes don't open. Right? We wake up and our eyes are created shut, closed, shut. Right? Or we wake up and all of a sudden we can't move, for example, because we're used to the same routine. And that routine sort of teaches us or gives us the false impression that the same thing is going to happen all the time. And it's going to continue to happen all the time. And then we expect for it to happen all the time. And then when you expect for something to happen all the time, then you sort of miss out and you lose the value of that thing because you expect it. It's normal. And so if you lose out on it and you expect it and it's normal and you don't value that thing, then you're less likely to thank Allah Ta'ala for that blessing because you're in the habit of doing it. So one thing that Ramadan does is that it stops all of our routine. And it gives us an opportunity to sort of step out of ourselves and examine our routine that we have throughout the year and to show gratitude to Allah Ta'ala for all of the little blessings that we take for granted on a daily basis. And finally, it increases one's awareness of servitude to God, servitude to Allah Ta'ala. We have different hats that we wear. Some of us are students. Some of us are professionals. Some of us are lawyers. Some of us are social workers. Some of us are teachers. Some of us are parents. Some of us are unemployed, but we do our own thing. We have certain hats that we wear and certain identities that we craft for ourselves or that we understand ourselves as. So our identities are very important, especially in the world, but one of those identities that we have that we should not forget is that we are all servants of Allah Ta'ala. We are all created to worship Allah Ta'ala, to follow His commands, and to be exemplars of the way of life that He has ordained for us. And so Ramadan allows us to go back to that memory. So by giving up certain things, we willingly give up certain things because we understand that we have a relationship with Allah Ta'ala also. Just like we have our relationship with everyone else in the community that is horizontal, we also have a vertical relationship as well. And so it brings us back to that awareness that we are, at the end of the day, servants of Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. Okay, so these are some of the benefits